Hello and welcome to Patched. I'm your host, Paul James. Today I'm joined by Matto Phillips. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not bad at all.
We've just come fresh off a conversation talking about all-time goal scorers in the AFL and behind kickers, accuracy specifically.
Which has
Red hot conversation.
Which has absolutely nothing what we've got to talk about today.
Yeah, so it's a hard transition for us, but we'll make it work. Because today we are talking about a whole bunch of CD Projekt Red news. There was an investor call recently. Even prior to that, we learned about The Witcher 4 or whatever ultimately it gets called being in development. But they put out a production plans outline for what they were basically doing for 2022. And there's a lot going on there. So we thought we'd kind of wade into it. And you're fresh off having actually gone and finished Cyberpunk 2077, so you'll have a bit of extra perspective there. I am still jonesing for The Witcher 3, the remaster, which has been delayed. So we can kind of pick through each of these things. We'll kind of break it into a Cyberpunk, a Witcher, and then maybe a final thoughts, like big picture sort of thing, just to kind of keep things somewhat contained into their little bubble. So the plan for Cyberpunk in 2022, I was about to say 2077.
Could be 2027 at this rate.
Well,
you never know.
Yeah, I did tweet out about that the other day. So they're developing an expansion for it at the moment, which I think the original plan was there was going to be 2 and maybe even a multiplayer thing, but the multiplayer is not being talked about anymore, and they're just talking about a single expansion. So maybe the second one's dead. That's on track for 2023 apparently. So as I tweeted out, at this rate, it'll come out in 2077. And beyond that, it's just a kind of like further support for Cyberpunk. Like they're not really doing a hell of a lot with it. They're clearly trying to cut their losses, but let's remember, and it's not something they're developing, but we've got the anime thing. Remember there was an anime that was being
I do remember that
developed alongside the game for a while there. I assume that's still a thing, maybe.
Who knows?
What do you want to see from a Cyberpunk expansion, considering you have actually gone back and given the game a second chance and you enjoyed it? What would you want to see from an expansion? And should they even be bothering with it at this point?
I don't know. I mean, it's coming out, 3 years after it was supposedly meant to be released? I don't know what I want from it. I don't think it's just... I would like an expansion that can actually run proper. Not boring.
I don't think they'll have those issues. I'll give them that.
I think they're really, let's be honest, they're playing it safe this time around because they don't want another blunder like they did with Cyberpunk.
Well, I mean, but let's remember, like the PC version was pretty good, and now like all attention is on the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions, which can pretty much do what the PC version does. Not quite, but pretty much what the PC version does. So like those new versions aren't really an issue. So I don't think tech will be much of an issue. It's just a matter of creating, good content.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't really know what or where you go with Cyberpunk. I really don't. I don't know what you do because all this, unless you make more, I will say more side characters, or you do more of old Keanu Reeves' character. I don't know. Because when it's this finished, I was like, oh yeah, cool. I just moved on. I did think, oh yeah, I can't wait for the DLC, which I did know about. I just saw how it ended. I was like, okay.
You weren't overly inspired by it.
I wasn't inspired by it at all. It was like, oh, I can't wait for the next thing to happen. It was just like, whatever.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm personally not all that into it, but you're right. Like, it's 3 years, and I guess if you compare it to what they did with The Witcher 3, where they put out Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, and both of those came out within it was the following year. They had both come out by the end of the following year, so they did a pretty amazing job with that.
But the other thing with those 2 DLC games as well, it's almost an entire game in itself.
Yeah, Hearts of Stone was smaller. Certainly, Blood and Wine was the size of a
huge one.
Yeah, size of a whole game, really.
It was massive.
And so they've kind of set the standard for themselves that with 3 years of development, I'm sure they'll probably get pretty close to. I'm sure whatever they deliver is going to be as big as a Night City all over again. But
it could be better than Cyberpunk. We never know.
Yeah, who knows? It potentially wouldn't take much. So. Depending on who you speak to.
Yeah, don't listen to the office people. Listen to the developers. If the developers say it's going to be great, I will listen to them. Office people, they say, yeah, it's going to be great. Don't trust them.
Yeah, don't listen to PR.
Don't listen to
They need to pump this thing up, which is actually interesting. I guess segues into the next point.
But
There
hang
was
on, another thing too. For the love of God, don't show any of the gameplay. Don't do it. Learn your lesson from Cyberpunk. That was a silly idea
I think they're going to have to at some point.
at some point, but don't do it 2 years.
Oh,
out
don't go
from the
early. Yeah,
release. Don't go early. Go bad. I don't know. Do like everyone else does. Do
3
it like
months
a
out.
month. Do it like a month out and get everyone excited. And go, oh yeah, that game.
yeah,
Do what they did with Kirby.
A short turnaround. I'd agree with that.
Just do what they did with Kirby.
Oh,
Or that. What was the other
Kirby
game?
is so good.
It was another game we were talking about last month. I can't remember. It was coming out in like 2 months. I can't remember what it was. We were talking about it, just out of nowhere, bang! Here's a game. I can't remember if it was Devolver or what.
Trek to Yomi? No.
That's on Games Pass, but that wasn't the one. It was just it was a more popular one, and then we just thought, oh, it's just coming out in the next couple of months. I can't remember what it was.
Death's Door did that.
Yeah, but it wasn't Death's Door. It was just I can't remember what it was.
No, I don't know. I mean, look, he's like on the AAA side, the big one that a lot of people talk about in terms of that short turnaround, and it was a full game, not a DLC, but Fallout 4 kind of had that. Now, obviously, let's ignore my kind of anti-Fallout sort of thing. Like, it was
76. We talking about 76, not 4.
No, I'm talking about 4. No, like they announced 4 in 2015 at like E3 time, and then it came out that like people were kind of speculating. Okay, it's time. What are they doing? It's Skyrim's been out for 4 years. What's the next thing? It's Fallout. There'd been rumors, that sort of thing, but they never said or acknowledged anything in any way. And then they announced it just before E3, blew the doors open at their first ever Bethesda E3 conference, and then said, "Hey, it's coming out in November," and they launched it. Like that's a good way to do this stuff. And I think there's no reason why they can't. I mean, admittedly, it's an expansion versus a full game, but I think they should apply the same sort of rules. Like, don't tease this for a long time. Just it's coming, and it'll be out when it's out, and maybe a few months out, like you said.
Just
now
don't
let's show
say
you what it's about.
Just don't say anything about it.
Just keep your head down and work.
And just go bang. Here's a release.
Yeah. The other thing that I guess is really interesting about it that's not in our little press thing, but it was something that they also tweeted out, is the fact that the game has sold 18 million copies, which seems really impressive at first.
How many of those copies have been returned?
Oh, I mean, there's that, but also the fact that like games historically, especially these days, you know, with price drops and all those sorts of things, have really, really long tails. Like they might even double their initial launch window sales over the course of the next few years. And so in that, apparently they were shooting for 30 million sales originally. They sold, of those 18 that they've sold total now, they sold 14 million of them in that launch week. So where the games historically maybe double what they're doing and have these long tails, that bad press just completely killed that game, which makes the whole expansion thing all the more interesting because there's just really no one. And you're right, there's obviously people who've traded it in, or like myself, who's just sitting there and may never ever go back and play it, that just aren't going to care. Like I think they're making this expansion because it's something they committed to, but it's not necessarily something that anyone really wants or cares about anymore.
It might be just what they think is a redeemer, but
yeah, well, they're keeping their word, and their word is kind of important, or like keeping their word. Sorry, is really important these days, considering everything they've gone through. But yeah,
then the question is it free or is it going to have to pay for it? Because people are going to be very skeptical if they have to pay for it.
I mean, the expansion they'll have to pay for. That just like Blood and Wine and Hearts of Stone. Like, they gave tons and tons of free stuff away for The Witcher 3, but those big packs, like, there was no way you could justify the amount of development time and then give it away for free. So, though the story around this one is a little bit different, but yeah, that's kind of Cyberpunk and the shit show that is evolving around that game at the moment. Hopefully they can, I don't know, pull it together. I still like CD Projekt, so I hope that they can kind of sort this thing out.
So it's only one game that they've done bad. Every company's been there. They've just done it real good.
Yeah, they just really cocked it up worse than most.
They really did it well. Like, I mean, Ubisoft would be high-fiving each other when Cyberpunk came out because everyone's going, yes, they're not going to remember Unity anymore.
Yeah, and BioWare's
And this-
going, oh, they're not going to remember Mass Effect Andromeda.
Or
And
Anthem.
Anthem as well. That's right, too. We've done it twice. Shit. Yeah, well.
But more Anthem than anything because that was
yeah, that was such a trash heap.
not so much Andromeda because that wasn't. Or maybe the animations, but
Yeah,
other-
people hung it on. I guess you mentioned Unity already. People hung it on Andromeda simply because of the facial animations, which is what Unity suffered as well. Both games are pretty solid once they patch that stuff.
Unity
out.
was actually good. I think people
love
just
Unity.
get horrified by the no face eyeballs,
Yeah.
the Andros.
Yeah, I remember I was reviewing Rogue that came out at the same time, which was the last gen, like the PS3 360
Yes.
game that came out at the same
I do
time. I was
remember that.
reviewing that one while someone else was doing Unity, so I was late to the party, and by the time I finally kind of cleared some time to then, okay, now it's time to play some Unity, just for myself, not for content or anything like that, they'd already patched all the stuff out. I'd seen what was on the internet, but they'd already patched it all out, so I had a great time playing it. There was no issues with it, but
Yeah, I was the same. I was like 3 years later and just thought, oh, it's not bad. It's not the greatest of all the Assassin's Creed games, but
the
what
co-op was
everyone
pretty cool.
said- What I never played the co-op, but everything that people said, I didn't see any of it. But
Yeah, neither did I. And Mass Effect was just the same. But anyway, turning our attention to the big, the kind of more profitable, more popular, less tarred and by horrible development side of CD Projekt, which is Witcher. Now, the core bit of news that we've got around, there's two big pieces of news that we've had recently around that. The first one was before this post from them, is that The Witcher 4, or the next Witcher game, is in development. They're going to be using Unreal Engine 5, which is kind of a big deal because they've used their own internal engine up to this point, and they're dropping that to work with Epic, and kind of a studio of that size. And that, I mean, say what you want about Cyberpunk, but especially on the PC end, it's a stunning looking game. There was a host of other issues, but it looked great. So, for them to kind of ditch their own engine to go and work with Unreal is kind of cool. But the other half is the fact that The Witcher 3 remaster that was meant to come out sometime in Q2, so sometime between now and May, has been delayed for reasons that aren't super clear yet.
maybe they played Grand Theft Auto and went, let's not do that. Let's not do the thing where Rockstar made fun of us. Then they decided to absolutely make an ass of themselves and make a game that just went absolutely horrific.
Yeah, so they're not getting computers to develop it, just like what Rockstar did, where they just AI, let's just do all the work, great, slap it out there, it's done. They did actually offload it to Saber Interactive, who did the Switch port, and that, I mean, as much as obviously it looks worse because it's on the Switch, it's a pretty good port for what it is. And Saber are a big studio themselves. They've got lots and lots of hundreds of thousands of developers and studios set up all around the world. This is me just tinfoil hatting it, but I reckon the reason that's been delayed is because Saber, as much as they're mostly based everywhere else in the world, they are actually a Russian company, and CD Projekt is Polish. So I'm wondering if maybe a bit of world news.
I thought you said a Russian. Not
yeah,
Russian,
sorry, no, they're
Russian.
a Russian.
No, I thought you said Russian company. I thought they just do a quick done. Go on. I don't want that.
No, they take the time. They do a good job, and they're run by some great people. You got Tim Wiltz and all those. But I think the core, where I guess the bottom line and everything is out of Russia. And I wonder if that's them making kind of a stand against the Russians, because the Polish are obviously, like most people, are pretty pissed with the Russians right now. But also potentially because of all the sanctions that Russia have copped, that because they're based out of, the core is based out of Russia, they'll be working in whatever, what's the currency in Russia? I don't know. I should know because it's been ruble. Yeah, that's right. Everything's based in that currency, but that currency is just completely destroyed at the moment. Let alone actually getting your hands on, and being able to, they can't work with US dollars, they can't work with anything. Everyone's cut them off. Maybe that just makes it impossible for CD Projekt to pay them, to be able to do anything with them. So they've said, look, we'll bring it in house. We can't do this. Thank you. Maybe we paid you a bunch up front. Here's there's the money. We promise you this, take it. But we can't do this anymore for whatever reason. So there could be kind of a nasty streak to it, and the fuck you, you guys are Russian.
Or there's the fact that there
They
might be
literally just can't do business with them properly.
yeah, there's that too. We don't know what Russia does, whatever Poland or whatever. We don't know. There's that thing too, because Poland's like, no, we don't want to support you. So Russia's probably gone, screw you.
Yeah, and I mean,
We don't know. That's the thing. We can guess all we want and have all these weird theories, like you said, put our tinfoil hats on and come up with ridiculous theories. That
Saber are a great studio. They haven't screwed this sort of stuff up before. So I actually feel like the game was probably going okay, which is why, and because they're a good studio, it's kind of why I feel like it must have been something external to that, and not even anything that Saber did themselves, and not even that like CD Projekt has issues with the people that are making it, except that the fact that they're a Russian company causes issues. So I don't even think it was being developed in Russia. Like I think it was probably like Saber is mostly based in the US. But the core, the I guess the origins of it is Russian. I think that might be the issue because of all the financial parts. So that's kind of my theory on that one. But they haven't declared a date for that. It'll come out whenever it's ready. Knowing our luck, it'll come out at the busiest time at the end of the year. You'll be seeing the likes of God of War and all these sort of games finally starting to roll out, and then The Witcher 3 drops, and I'll fucking cry.
That could really, really ruin my one of my New Year's resolutions if that's the case.
Which resolution? I can't remember now.
It was to finish all 3 Witcher games.
Oh yeah. Well, no, it's an opportunity. Oh yeah. If The Witcher 3 comes out late,
Then then it's just I'm not going to.
You've already finished The Witcher 3, right?
Not this year. That's the difference.
Oh, that was the catch. It had to be this year, right?
This year. Because that's the case. Then I finished all 3 Witcher games. That's just stupid.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
So finishing this calendar year, which is going well.
Yeah.
So far.
So we'll breeze through some small news before we really circle back on kind of The Witcher 4, because that's certainly the big one. Development for like At the Molasses Flood, which is a team who's done some really cool little indie games over the last few years. It's actually made up of some ex-Bioshock people. They're working on an unannounced project based on one of the franchises. Pretty safe to assume it's probably The Witcher. Could be Cyberpunk, I guess, but probably The Witcher. There's launched a spin-off to Gwent, the Witcher card game. So they're obviously looking at doing more Gwent-based stuff. Further support for Gwent, the Witcher card game, and the Witcher Monster Slayer. The Witcher Monster Slayer is the Pokemon Go style game that is out there. I've tried it. It's fine enough. Like whatever.
That just seems weird. What are you looking for? A Leshen? What the hell's a Leshen? Or a Wraith or a Succubus?
I mean, it's kind of
people
cool,
just think you're weird. It's weird enough trying to chase a Snorlax down the street. I mean,
that prick's not going anywhere fast.
Yeah, or just a wave of people chasing one shiny Pokemon.
Or like Damo chasing a Bidoof.
Damo, a Bidoof
chasing a Bidoof.
Damo.
Yeah, he's chasing
Damo.
That guy.
Not Garbodor. No,
not Garbodor. All about those Bidoofs. Now you're putting all these edits on me. I've got Damo already in the footage. I'm not gonna throw a Garbodor in there as well. But for now,
Damo. Tell about Damo.
Yeah, it's Damo.
Damo. Not Damo.
Yeah, Damo. Right. Anyway. Yeah. So, and the last one is like conceptual and research work on unannounced projects, which is a pretty kind of open-ended, nothing sort of thing. Like they've got a little pocket of people that are cooking up other ideas. Good for them.
Fantastic.
So The Witcher 4, which is the big one, and again, Unreal Engine 5 is being used for it. What are you looking for out of a Witcher 4 game? Like, it's obviously going to be years away. I think we can probably 4 or 5 years at least.
Honestly, I don't know. It's going to be hard to try and top The Witcher 3. Let's just get that out of the way for now. As long as they have all the same elements as what The Witcher 3 had, improve the combat, I don't care. As long as
you can almost just do it again.
Yeah, you can always just copy and paste it, and people won't complain. Unless you get into a boat, then people are going to complain. That was a God of War.
Well, I mean, you got into a boat to go to Skellige.
Yes, but it's not a fancy jump in.
Oh, it doesn't talk to you. Yeah. Sorry, not
a cool animation getting into a boat is just Geralt gets into a boat and for some reason sinks. I never understood that. Just paddle in my boat and then just a hole comes and sinks. I'm like, what the hell, man? Just damn drowners.
Oh, fucking drowners! I hated them early in the game.
Let's say, if this is the app, did people go swimming with their phone in the air, just look for a drowner in the Yarra and find an e-scooter instead?
Well,
On
I
those,
mean, I'm sure people got in the air and they've found drowners on
those,
their
on those
Witcher Monster
bikes.
Slayer game.
They find one of those rental bikes that people throw in the river, which
Oh.
is, I mean, if you know what you don't know what we're talking about, just put like rental bikes, Yarra. There's probably a story there somewhere. Just
Oh
people
yeah, they'll be.
brought
Yeah,
out bikes out of
they're
the
probably
river.
fishing a few out right now. It's disgusting. People in Melbourne suck.
But
Yeah,
I think
Witcher-
there's only two key elements you need: Geralt, Ciri.
I don't reckon we'll get Geralt. I reckon the story is done after The Witcher 3.
Ciri?
Yeah,
I think
we'll get
that- I
Ciri.
think they
I reckon
said
it'll
that.
be a
I think
Ciri
they-
story.
I'm pretty sure they said that after The Witcher 3. They said, nah, no more Geralt games. So I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Ciri, I'm all for.
Yeah, and there's this the one key piece of art that's come out for it doesn't have like the house of the wolf house. It's kind of a lynx, like a different sort of animal there, which is not one that's kind of typically noted in the books or the TV show or the game, the games. Sorry, up to this point. So I'm wondering if like they're straight up going like, okay, we're creating our own lore here. We're going from here. Yeah, maybe it focuses on Ciri, maybe it focuses on someone new completely, but this whole links thing is an opportunity to just write a new story and kind of, I guess, step away from what already exists.
Ah, so that's what they're researching for. Just
Yeah,
sit
yeah.
there and watch Game of Thrones and don't have a fight in a dark spot.
Yeah, make
Where no-
make
where
sure the
no one
lighting's
can
good.
see.
They watch
Where
that
no one
and
can
go,
see a
we need to
damn
invest
thing.
in our lighting team.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably what they're doing. Just watching some old fantasy TV shows and doing some fancy reading of fancy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're going and watching Hexen, which is the old Witcher show, well before, like
yes.
from like 15 years ago, and making little notes as to what not to do when it comes
So
to
maybe
telling a
they're
story.
watching. What's that other Hercules and Xena Warrior Princess as well? Maybe
Oh,
watch.
yeah,
See. Yeah, do
everyone's
that too.
favorite Kevin Zorbo these days.
Yeah, everyone loves Kevin.
Oh.
Unless you're Xena. Unless you're Lucy, then you don't like Kevin.
Well, yeah, and that's because Kevin's a racist, sexist piece of shit these days. But anyway, that's a whole other off-topic
That's a
thing.
different story, nah.
We're focusing on the fiction, not the people. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm with you though. Like, if they just, I think the only thing that really is going to be the big curious thing here is the story. Beyond that, it's pretty obvious. Yeah, like the combat needs a little bit of touching up. I think people are quick to bash on it because it's the weakest part of the game, but it's not really
It's not
that
terrible.
bad. It's just
Yeah, it's just a little clunky. That's all it is.
yeah, it's just like everything else is so good. Everything else is 10 out of 10, and that's like an 8 or 9, and so people are gonna go after it because you need to find something to tear it down about.
Because they can't complain about you riding a horse because there's nothing wrong with riding your horse.
Works a treat,
Works a treat.
and it's better than Breath of the Wild. So all those people that pump up Breath of the Wild have nothing they can say about it. So
No, because that's where they stole their
Non-shitty Witcher.
ideas. They stole their ideas from and watered it down to
Yeah.
just absolute
shit.
garbage.
Yeah, we'll have to start. Jamie or someone can, especially Jamie, because I'm sure it's like rubbing salt into a wound every time we raise it. Can you like keep count of how many times this year? We won't go too far back. We've referenced Shitty Witcher like in an episode completely unnecessarily.
I sort of feel like he would already do that. It's just, here we go. They've done it again.
Just little.
Or then
tally
you go
mark.
into it, or then you go into another podcast like the Pop Culturist and saying Shitty Witcher there as well.
It's growing. It's growing thanks to
Growing.
some of our social media shit. Like if we keep throwing it out there.
Maybe-
Geez, did
maybe
we get
we should-
support when we threw it out there recently?
So maybe we should make our own group, the Shitty Witcher Appreciation Society.
No, that would still imply that we like the Breath of the Wild.
But we're called a Shitty Witcher, so we're appreciating
Shitting on Shitty Witcher.
the use of the word Shitty Witcher, not the game, just the
Oh
use
yeah,
of
yeah. That's
Shitty
fine.
Witcher.
Yeah, I
Appreciate
can get
you.
around that. And you get
Yeah.
all these Witcher fans coming in screaming and shouting before they realise that we're actually not talking
Like,
about the
wait,
Witcher
this
at
is Breath of the Wild.
all.
This ain't no
Um,
Witcher game.
Any
No,
other thoughts?
You're correct. I mean, they're correct if they say that ain't no Witcher game. You're correct. It's Breath of the Wild.
It's Breath of the Wild. and
Congratulations.
It's a
You've
poor
passed.
man's Witcher. Yeah, good job. You're well. You can stay here now. Congratulations, you've worked it out. Any other thoughts on Witcher 4?
Not really. I mean, just take your time. I'm in no rush. I've got other Witcher games to play. Well, 3 of them. Or 2 of them, actually. But other than that, yeah, just take your time. Don't show any gameplay. Don't show a trailer until you think you think to yourselves, go, right, we're close.
Yeah, then go for it. Yeah, because even The Witcher 3, that was winning best of E3s and most anticipated game of the year awards for 3 years, 4 years before it actually came out. So,
And people got upset because it doesn't look like the trailer. Yeah, since when does any game look like the trailer?
but see, now that it's been announced, like it become, and you could see this cycle starting potentially because now that it's been announced, like that's instantly my most anticipated game, and it's probably 4 or 5 years away.
Yeah, for whatever year it comes out.
Like it's the one that if the Game Awards had their little that kind of gimmicky what's the most anticipated game thing. Now, admittedly, I think it's meant to be usually for the following year, but like if The Witcher's there, I'd be voting for it straight away. Even if you put God of War and Horizon 3, and you could throw all
Spider-Man.
Yeah, you could throw the best of the best from
DC
Naughty Dog
game.
and everything, and I'll probably still pick The Witcher 3. So, or Witcher 4, sorry. So anyway, it's a weird spot that they're in, and yeah, I think at this point, just drop it. Yeah, 4 or 5 years from now, maybe the second last year of the console generation, and blow everyone away. So,
and
unless it comes out faster because of the Unreal Engine thing, because apparently
maybe
Unreal Engine 5 is so incredible that like it just cuts down so much development time. So that might help.
And maybe also they've learned from their Cyberpunk of what not to do.
Well, that too.
And that too, and then just go from there.
Yeah.
Like you said, who knows? The Unreal Engine might make things easier for them.
Yeah, it could.
Who knows?
We'll see how it goes.
We'll find out in 5 years' time.
We'll wrap things up there at this point. Let us know in the comments all your thoughts on Witcher 4, Cyberpunk 2077, and kind of where CD Projekt is at.
And tell us if you found any bikes in the Yarra too.
Yeah, make sure. And Buddy Watson, you were in Melbourne recently. If you're watching, listening, just let us know. Did you check the Yarra? And if you didn't, you weren't really here.
Or did you see any e-scooters just parked on the walkway somewhere? They do that. They're just everywhere.
Yeah.
Just
they just
don't even park it anymore. They're just like, I've had enough. Just drop it and walk off. Like, oh yeah, cool. No worries. It's just piles of e-scooters everywhere.
Totally different to what I saw when I was in on the Gold Coast just last week, where people love the e-bikes and all those sorts of things, the e-scooters and the
I think it's just a Melbourne thing.
Bikes you can just jump on.
One person does it, and everyone just thinks, you know what? I'm going to do the same.
I'm just going to throw them all.
I'm going to throw a bike in the Yarra. That's what I'm going to do.
Fuck.
It's like, go see Federation Square, go to the aquarium, throw a bike in the Yarra. There we go.
You've done Melbourne now.
Done Melbourne. You've done everything.
If you enjoyed that episode of Patch, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. All the buttons down below. Hit the notification bell. That way you're alerted to every new video the moment it goes live on the channel. That includes Patched, More Player 2... Oh, sorry, damn it. Fuck. Patched, Player 2 Plays, Gamer School, and a whole bunch more.
You say More Player 2 Plays. That feels
I said More Player 2
feels
Plays.
Like you got the other
the wrong script.
segments read the wrong way.
Got the wrong script. Visit the website player2.net.au for reviews, previews, opinion pieces, news, features, links to the podcast series Patch, the Player 2 Pixelcast, and Dev Diary. We're on Patreon, patreon.com/player2au, kicking a few bucks, lower tiers early access, higher tiers monthly episode exclusives, and finally there's Twitter, Matto.
Matto_Phil.
Paul James Games for me, and until about 10 minutes from now when we record the next episode, because you're going away this week, thanks all for watching, and we'll see you in a week.
Well, no, you'll see this Tuesday. You'll see the other one next week.
Yeah, that one. See ya.